want to replace someone by someone new so that the old memories get covered by the new memories. Whereas the new memories must not be tainted by the old memories. It must start on a new clean slate. Happy Easter, good day, good afternoon. You know, this greeting introduction, one doesn't know where to start. There's a lot that is happening around us. There's a lot of us who's going through a lot, who have lost their loved ones, who have lost loved ones through death, through separation, through a lot of loss. Can be losing your job, losing the property that you have, and you don't know how to deal with it. But one thing that I think people have spoken so much about, how to deal with, how to cope with stress if you've lost your job, you know, you've lost your car, your property, how to bounce back. But we don't really talk about how to deal with grief. We don't talk about dealing with grief when you've lost loved ones. And it's not encouraged for us to cry more. It's not encouraged for us to talk more about it. We're encouraged to get over it. You need to get over it, and life goes on. And we want to detect and determine how somebody must deal with their grief. And we want to put a time frame to it, how long it's acceptable for them to be in that grief and to be in that pain. I think that grief is a process, and it's not something that needs to be forced, and it's stipulated how you must do it, and time frame and all that. We are in a hurry to grieve someone so that life can go on. But I also want us to look at another side of grief. Can't we grieve somebody by remembering them, celebrating their lives, and not to honestly forget them? It may, what I'm about to say, it may sound unbiblical or whatever, but I've heard so many people who have lost their loved ones, and they will dream about it can be a child, it can be a parent, early on or whenever. I cannot say until when, because I've not experienced it. But they are not, society don't really encourage for them to talk about such. Grief is different per individual, and also depending on the circumstances of death. But there still be some, they will be seeking for answers. Some, there will be regrets. Some, there will be, I could have done 1, 2, 3. I could have done things differently while that person was still alive. And some, it's just an issue of losing their loved ones. I think we need to understand that, as I said, grieving, it's an individual thing. It's an individual thing. There is no specification to say all of us will need to grieve in different ways. You find that today the person is okay. Tomorrow when they wake up, their spirit is so down. It's few people who death don't impact on them. It's few people who accept death as part of life, and they move on so fast, and the pain hits them now and then it's done with. But most of us, it takes time for us to let go of losing someone, of realization. I don't even know if it's the issue of not seeing that person anymore. But what I'm saying is that we need, especially as Christians, why can't we trust the scripture and look forward to meeting them if we're gonna meet them? If we're gonna be, I know it's not gonna be in the physical form. And the issue with grief is that people will be there to support you. People will be there when that thing happened in the first month. People will be coming to the house, the calls and everything. But when everybody has left and life has to go on, the people who are more impacted by the passing, they are left with memories and all that. At the time when those things are happening, they are occupied with arrangement of the burial. They are occupied with family meetings. They are occupied with choosing of the coffin, the catering, and all that. But when they are alone, when they are left alone, I think we need to talk more about grieving, man. Ma, is it grieving or grieving? Grieving. Oh, we need to talk about it. It's like a taboo issue. People don't want that person to dwell on it. I'm not saying you need to dwell in your grief, but if you don't deal with your pain, with your loss, with whatever, and you reach that thought that it was not your fault, there was nothing you could have changed, and it was not something that you had control over. And even us who are left, we don't know what to say to the other person. When the person talks about it, we feel irritated, or why can't the person get over it? Like I said, there are different kinds of grieving. And there's a grieving with the ending of relationship, ending of marriage. It's not possible that you can be with someone for so many years. You shared memories, you shared future plans, even if there were no future plans. You shared laughter, you shared, there are things that triggers you to remember that person. And when the marriage or relationship ends, you can just forget that person. It's gonna be a process. It's gonna be a process because you were with that person for some time. And we need to ask ourselves, we have this saying that for you to heal or to get over someone in a case of breakup and everything, you need to jump into another relationship. But which means you are piling unresolved issues on top, wanting to solve questions we have with the new relationship. Do we grieve from our past relationships? Do we grieve in such a way that even when the memories are triggered, there is no hurt or there is no pain? There is no regret. We are in a hurry to get over someone, and someone that you shared a life with, that you were almost one thing, and you think you can just get over that person. Maybe it works for others. I think especially when the relationship was dead for a while, the relationship has been dragging for a while. It was just the issue of being official. But we are afraid to deal with our feelings. We are afraid to deal with our thoughts. We want to replace someone by someone new so that the old memories get covered by the new memories. Whereas the new memories must not be tainted by the old memories. It must start on a new clean slate. That is just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but that's just my opinion. So you find that you are carrying one baggage to one relationship to another because you haven't found time to be cleansed spiritually, physically, emotionally from that person. And when I say cleansing, I'm not talking about some ritual. And yes, I do believe you can also pray to say, you know what, Lord, heal my heart. Heal me so that the pain or the bitterness, if you have bitterness, so that it goes away. Heal me so that when memories comes back, it's not attached to pain. You know, old people, they will say there was a reason. I lost my thought there. That's why for me, I always say it's not advisable to even go and marry a man who's a widow, who's newly a widow, especially men. And a man who really loved his wife. Because you don't have to replace the wife who passed away, but he could be marrying you out of loneliness. But the person that he still wants to be is his wife who passed away. You will be competing with a ghost. A lot of people where you find that they have married a man who have lost a wife, that marriage, it's problematic because he still wants to keep the memories of the wife. He still wants to do things the way he used to do with her. He has not closed that chapter. I think women are better at dealing with grief than men. He has not dealt with that chapter. And you enter a relationship with someone who's still longing for someone they cannot have, who is dead. So when you meet someone who have lost a wife or a partner, you need to ask those questions. Have they gone for counseling? Don't be in a hurry to want to get married and everything and get excited when they want to settle, because they may want to settle out of void. Not out of they really love you, out of void. This is just my opinion, and this is what I've observed over the years with men who have lost their wives. It's gonna be 3 of you in that marriage. It's gonna be you, him, and the wife who's a ghost. So when you meet such a man, you need to be patient and to ask for wisdom, so you can establish if this man is he has dealt with the death of his wife. Because most of us, we don't deal with grief, with losing our loved ones. We want to replace, especially when it comes to relationship, we want to replace and to fill that void and that gap. But filling the gap may not be the solution. Just like the teeth, where they fill up, they do patches on the teeth, where else, and then it comes back later, it's rotten. It needs to be taken out from the root. This is a very complex topic because we don't really talk about grief in every sense. And which mechanism do you use for dealing with your grief? Is it church? Too much church becomes too much waking, too much alcohol, too much wanting from jumping from one person to another. Food What is it? How do you cope with grief? And do you allow yourself to be in that moment, to grieve that person until your heart has been set free? And even when you talk about them, yes, there will be days that will be sad, but you have freed them. Reach a point where you free them. But us who are outside, let's avoid to want to detect how people must grieve and how long and the way they must grieve. Do we even have this conversation in our homes? Do you have such conversation with your children, with your spouses, with your siblings? I hope you're having a beautiful Good Friday, or they call it Easter. You know these English words. But it's a blessed day. It is a blessed day. And if wherever you are grieving, it can be because of loss of a loved one by death. It can be by the loss of loved one by separation. Find your way that will not make you to cover the pain, but to make you to find peace and start a new chapter, not based on putting pancake to hide from how we feel.